Why didn't Rome conquer Persia? To understand this, we must first be aware of why Rome conquered places, because it wasn't always as simple as imperial expansion. Not all conquests were equally important, but in general, especially early on, Rome was focused on controlling the Mediterranean Sea and the trade routes within it. As time went on and the empire grew more powerful, it expanded further inland, mostly for resources and security, acquiring populated lands with threatening barbarians that were feasible to conquer. From the 1st century BC to the 1st century AD, Rome acquired Gaul, Britain, and the Balkans, solidifying its core frontiers, many of which saw little change afterwards. Although Rome's political structure encouraged war, the cost of conquest was also important to consider. If those in charge felt it would be too costly to maintain certain territories or that keeping them wasn't guaranteed, then they would be less willing to pursue invasions expensive in money and manpower. Therefore, Persia wasn't exactly seen as a priority, as its lands were not crucial for maintaining the trade routes of the Mediterranean, also being quite expensive to conquer. However, there were still notable potential gains alongside the personal glory of emperors, like Babylon for its wealth, agriculture, and capacity to secure trade routes between Europe and the Far East. Armenia in particular was a major point of contention from which the Silk Road ran. But overcoming Persia's terrain and military capabilities was easier said than done. Persian cavalry was very effective, with highly armored knights smashing Roman infantry lines, the Parthians in particular capable of shooting their bows accurately while retreating. Roman advantages in combat, such as naval superiority and professional infantry, were rendered less effective in the lands of the east with rough terrains and desert, as well as ineffective supply lines so far from home. Roman occupations were difficult to maintain, as the Persian people were proud and independent, having lived in a sophisticated empire for centuries, seeing the Romans as mere plunderers. Because Rome never completely ended a Persian state, it could continue to amass large armies, recruit new forces, and support any rebellions in lands Rome acquired. In fact, Roman failures in Persia were numerous, even when operations initially looked promising. During the 1st century BC, Rome tried to invade Mesopotamia, but resulted in General Crassus and a massive Roman army being crushed at the Battle of Carrhae by Parthian cavalry. The 1st century AD saw the two states compete over the Armenian throne, while the 2nd saw Emperor Trajan conquer Mesopotamia, but his successor Hadrian quickly withdrew. Emperor Severus returned about a century later, re-establishing the province and even reaching the Parthian capital, but never was able to establish permanent control, also retreating. Further campaigns continued against the Sassanids during the 3rd to 5th centuries. Though Emperor Diocletian experienced a period of stability and Galerius saw a great victory in 298, capturing Ctesiphon and the Persian treasury, most campaigns were brief and rapidly abandoned, often resulting in the death or capture of emperors such as Valerian and Julian the Apostate. Therefore, the Roman-Persian frontier remained largely the same during this period, stabilizing alongside towns and fortifications, the two trying to ally or vassalize nearby states. Overall, Rome never conquered Persia for two main reasons: necessity and the difficulties of conquest. Persia was not essential to Rome's control of the Mediterranean, and although it possessed resources and could help secure trade routes, these proved to not be worthwhile given the fierce resistance from the Parthian and Sassanid empires and their peoples. This left the majority of Persia not a part of the Roman Empire, though some regions saw brief periods of occupation.